The Louisiana Department of Homeland Security kept the Red Cross and Salvation Army from delivering relief supplies to stranded evacuees at the Superdome and New Orleans Convention Center.
We were ready from literally the time the storm blew through. We were ready to go. We just were not given permission to go in.
We were prepared. The intent and the will was definitely there.
State authorities told both relief organizations delivering food and water would impede evacuation efforts.
We understood that the thinking was that if we were to come in, that one, it would impede the evacuation. They were trying to get everybody out. And secondly, that it could possibly suggest that it was going to be okay to stay.
The scenes of suffering tore at the hearts of Red Cross volunteers.
I don't think there was any Red Crosser either nearby the scene or even in Washington, D.C., who didn't just have great anguish about the fact that we weren't able to help.
The Superdome and Convention Center became what state officials call a shelter or refuge of last resort. As such, the plan was to evacuate residents, not provide services. The Louisiana National Guard dealt with the Superdome evacuees, overwhelmed by the numbers.
We had about 400 soldiers at the Superdome, and we had 30,000 New Orleans citizens evacuate to that shelter in the span of about 24 hours after the storm.
The Louisiana National Guard also had to deal with the unheeded order from New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin for evacuees to bring 3 days of food and water to the Superdome.
He stated that individuals should treat this as a campout, that you should bring food and water with you. Not everyone did that. The Louisiana National Guard, not being tasked to provide that, brought in additional food and water and supported the feeding and caring of those citizens until they were eventually moved out of the Superdome.
But the process was agonizingly slow. City buses supposed to be ready to transport residents to higher ground stood unused. The state then asked the Federal Emergency Management Agency to produce 1,100 buses. Relief agencies say the root of the problem was an inept evacuation of New Orleans.
In a city such as New Orleans, it is extremely important to not only conceive a plan, but to have a plan that is then executable and then is executed.
The Red Cross and Salvation Army provided shelter, food, and water to thousands of New Orleans residents outside the direct impact zone. But they couldn't reach the ones whose needs were most acute and most visible on television because the state stuck with its evacuation plan. In Washington, Major Garrett,